So one day, I was walking back from a job tired. My feet were hurting. I just wanted to get home, boil some noodles, eat and sleep. And that is when this man approached me. Let's call him Ben. He just walked right up to me and blocked my path. My first thought was that he wanted to ask for directions. Because mind you, at the time, I was 4 months pregnant. My baby's father, my ex, had packed his bags and left me the moment I told him I was keeping the baby. So there I was, completely alone, with no money and a growing belly. I was hustling, doing small jobs here and there, just anything to put food on the table and save a little for the baby coming. My life was just work, home, sleep. No time for anything else. My spirit was low, but I was trying to be strong for my baby. Now back to the story. This man smiled and said, "Excuse me, please, what is your name?" I was so confused. I told him, "Why do you want to know?" And then he said the craziest thing. He looked me straight in the eye and said, "I think you are the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. I think I have fallen in love with you at first sight." I just stared at him. My mouth was probably open. I should have run. I mean, who says that to a pregnant woman who is clearly looking like a mess? My hair was in a rough ponytail. I had no makeup. I was wearing a big old t-shirt. It made no sense. That was the first red flag. But I was too tired and too shocked to see it. I honestly thought he was making fun of me. My self-esteem was on the floor at that time. My skin was a mess from the pregnancy hormones, pimples on my face, my chest, everywhere. I had gained weight in places I didn't know I could, and my belly was already showing, making all my old clothes tight. I felt huge and unattractive. So when he said those words, my first reaction was to laugh. I laughed a bitter, tired laugh. I said to him, "What is wrong with you? Look at me. I am clearly pregnant. Why are you saying this to me? What do you really want?" I tried to walk away from the whole strange situation, but he quickly stepped in front of me and held my arm, not in a violent way, but his grip was firm. He had this intense, serious look in his eyes. "Please," he begged, "just give me your name and your number. That is all I ask. Give me one chance to talk to you, to show you I am serious." I was so confused. I asked him the question that was burning in my mind. Why? Why are you chasing a pregnant woman? There are many fine single girls out there without a baby bump. His answer surprised me. He said, "It is not about the pregnancy, it is about you. I saw you and I felt something. I just want to get to know the woman behind this beautiful face." Maybe it was because I was so lonely. Maybe it was because I hadn't heard a kind word in months. My brain was screaming that this was weird, but my heart was so desperate for any little bit of kindness. So I hesitated. I bit my lip. And then, like a fool, I said, "Okay, cool, no problem." I gave him my name and my phone number. It felt like a big mistake, even as I was saying the numbers. But a part of me hoped, just a little, that he was telling the truth. And that was how my life turned into a huge nightmare. Hi, babe. Welcome back to my channel. And I hope you are doing amazing today. If you are new here, I'm Vera, but you can call me V. And I share real life stories that will shock you, break your heart, inspire you, and sometimes make you laugh. So if this is something you love, please subscribe and like this video. And don't forget to turn on the notifications so that when I post, you'll be notified immediately. Today's shout out goes to Kessie29, Pinecone Smiley 718, and Pretty Abina 29. They were the first people to comment on my last video. Thank you so much for the support, babes. I love you. And without any further delay, let's continue the story. He called me that very night. I was surprised he actually did. We started talking, and honestly, this man was like an angel saying straight to me. He was easy to talk to. He listened, and he made me laugh for the first time in months. He started calling me every single morning. "Good morning, beautiful. Have you eaten? You need to eat for two," he would say. Then he started sending me money for food. "Take care of yourself and my baby," he would say. And my heart would melt. He already called the baby his. We started seeing each other almost every day. And he never stopped telling me I was beautiful. Even on my worst days, when my feet were so swollen, I had to wear slippers, and my face was puffy. He would hold my feet and rub them and still call me beautiful. One day, I broke down and told him about my ex, how he abandoned me. Ben held my hand and said, I don't care about your past. That man was a fool. I am here now. I want a family. I want you and that baby. And he meant it. He started taking care of everything. He paid for all my hospital appointments. He bought a crib, baby clothes, diapers, everything. For the first time since I got pregnant, I could breathe. I didn't have to worry about money or being alone. I thought I had finally found my peace, my safe place. But this peace, it didn't last long at all. For about 2 months, everything felt like a dream. But then I started to notice a pattern. Ben always wanted to have sex, like all the time, sometimes twice a day. Now I am a young woman, but I was also 6 months pregnant. My body was tired, my back ached, and sometimes I just wanted to sleep. But the weirdest part wasn't how often he wanted it. It was what he did during the act. The entire time, his hands would be all over my stomach, rubbing it in slow, intense circles. It wasn't a gentle kind of rub. It was his main focus. It felt like the rest of me was just there. But my pregnant belly was the star of the show. I told myself I was just being silly and ungrateful. He's just really in tune with the pregnancy, I thought. He's bonding with the baby. How could I complain? This man was taking care of me. He paid my rent, bought all the groceries, handled my hospital bills. He was the perfect boyfriend. So I ignored the little voice in my head and the weird feeling in my stomach. Then I introduced him to my mom. I was so excited for her to meet this amazing man who had saved me. But after he left, first said it all. She didn't like him. My mom didn't even wait for the door to fully close behind him. My daughter, she said, her voice low and serious. You need to watch that man. Open your eyes very well. I felt a flash of irritation. Ma, why? What is wrong with him? He takes care of me. He pays for everything. He calls me every day. She shook her head slowly, like she was dealing with a foolish child. That is exactly what I mean. Men like that, perfect men who appear out of thin air when you are at your most vulnerable, they are not real. It is a mask. I find it very, very strange that a handsome man with a good job will see a pregnant woman struggling and fall in love just like that. What does he want? It doesn't make sense. Her words were like needles, but I was so tired of struggling, tired of being heartbroken by my ex, tired of being alone and scared. For the first time in forever, I felt safe and loved, and here was my own mother trying to take that away from me. Ma, you just don't want me to be happy, I said, my voice shaking. You think because my last man was bad, all men are bad. Why should I let a good man go just because you think he's too perfect? Maybe God finally sends me a blessing. She just looked at me with so much pity in her eyes. I pray I am wrong, my child. I really do. But please, just be careful. I should have listened to her. I really, really should have listened. But my heart was so bruised and my spirit was so weak that I chose to believe the fairy tale. I convinced myself she was just being an overprotective mother. Oh, how I wish I had listened. Because what happened next, it still gives me chills. When I was about 7 months pregnant, big and waddling like a duck, Ben sat me down for a talk. He held my hands and looked into my eyes with so much concern. It is not good for you to be living all alone in that small room, he said. What if you fall? What if you need something in the middle of the night? I can't sleep thinking about it. Then he asked me to move in with him. He said his 2-bedroom apartment had plenty of space, and he wanted me and the baby to be comfortable and safe. Mind you, up until this point, this man had been a saint. He cooked for me, gave me money without me even asking. He was the perfect man. My mother's warnings felt like a distant, silly memory. So, with a heart full of hope and excitement, I agreed. I packed my few belongings. It felt like I was finally leaving my hard life behind and stepping into my happy ending. It was another huge mistake. The day I moved in, Ben was so helpful, carrying my bags from the taxi. I was so happy, feeling like a queen arriving at a new palace. But as we walked towards his door, I noticed this landlady and a grown-up daughter sitting on the porch of the main house. They stopped their conversation and just stared at us. It wasn't a friendly stare. They were whispering to each other, their eyes following me. The landlady especially had this look on her face, a mix of disgust and curiosity, like I was a strange insect she had never seen before. The landlady especially had this look on her face, a mix of disgust and curiosity, like I was a strange insect she had never seen before. It made a little knot form in my stomach, but I was too excited to care. I told myself maybe she's just a nosy old woman. Maybe she doesn't like new people. I pushed the thought aside and stepped into Ben's apartment. It was spotlessly clean, with a big sofa and bed, and AC humming in the living room. It was a world away from my small hot cramped room with a noisy fan. It felt like I had won the lottery. I was so happy. About a week later, I was outside, hanging some napkins to dry on the line he had behind the building. The landlady came out to throw away some trash. I decided to be friendly, to show her I was nice. "Good afternoon, ma." I greeted her with a small smile. She just nodded, her eyes going straight to my big round stomach. She didn't say anything for a moment, just looked at me with that same unreadable expression. Then she asked the question that froze me on the spot. She pointed a finger directly at my belly and said, "It is not his, right?" The question was so blunt, so strange. Why would she ask that? Why would she care? I was so confused that I just hesitated and then nodded, confirming that no, the baby wasn't Ben's. She didn't look surprised. She just shook her head slowly, a deep sadness in her eyes. And without another word, she turned and walked back into her apartment, leaving me standing there alone. My happy feeling vanished, replaced by a cold confusion. Why did she ask me that? What did she know that I didn't? For a little while, I tried to forget about the landlady's weird question. I focused on my new life. But soon, I couldn't ignore that things were changing, and not for the better. Ben's behavior shifted. Despite me being very pregnant, uncomfortable and tired, he wanted to have sex more than ever, more than 2 times a day. If I said I had a headache, or my back was paining me, or I was just too exhausted, his whole mood would change. He would become silent and withdrawn, not talking to me for the whole day. I started to notice that after we had sex, it was like a switch flipped in him. All the affection and attention would disappear. He would let go of me, roll over, and lose all interest until the next time he wanted to be intimate. It started to feel like that was the only reason he wanted me around. I also became aware of the way people looked at us when we went out together. People in the neighborhood would stay. Some would even point subtly in our direction and whisper to the person next to them. I had thought they were staring because I was a heavily pregnant woman with a new man. But now it felt different. It felt like they were staring because they knew something. But even with these new strange feelings, I kept convincing myself that Ben was a good man. He was still taking care of me in every other way. In the house, he didn't allow me to lift a finger. He would wake up early to cook breakfast before going to work. He came home on his lunch break sometimes to make sure I had eaten. He swept the house. He washed my clothes, even my underwear. He treated me like a precious, fragile thing. In my mind, I was reasoning, look at all he's doing for you. A man who did not even get you pregnant is doing all this. He is providing everything. How many women are praying for a man like this? I felt so guilty for having any negative thoughts about him. I was terrified of doing anything that would make him angry, or worse, make him leave me. I didn't want to lose him. I was so scared of going back to being alone, pregnant, and struggling. So I made a decision. I would try my best to always be available for him, no matter how I felt. If he wanted to have sex, even if I was tired or my body ached, I would say yes. I would pretend to be into it. But it was becoming so hard. Because of my big belly, it was often very uncomfortable and sometimes even painful. And like I said before, the whole time, he would be constantly rubbing and massaging my stomach. It was the main event for him. It felt less like making love and more like he was using my body with my pregnant belly as the centerpiece. I felt so confused and used sometimes. It was starting to seem like all he really wanted was my pregnant body. But I felt trapped. How could I complain when he was doing everything else right? So I just kept quiet and endured it. My smile feeling more and more fake every day. Then one afternoon, everything changed. I was in the bedroom, bored. Ben had gone to the market. One of his phones was on the bedside table. He had given me his password a while back. He had two phones, so he was with the other one. I was just so bored and a little curious. I picked up his phone, unlocked it, and for no real reason, I went into his photo gallery. He's the kind of person who never deletes anything. So there were thousands of pictures. I started scrolling backwards. I scrolled back to about 3 years ago. And that is when my blood ran cold. I saw pictures of Ben with a pregnant woman. She was in his living room smiling with his arm around her. In another, she was in the kitchen, the same kitchen where he cooked for me. Then I kept scrolling and saw another pregnant woman. What? A different woman, also in his apartment. In one picture, she was even sitting on the same bed I was lying on. My heart started pounding so hard, I could hear it in my ears. To my knowledge, Ben had no children. He never spoke of any nieces or cousins who stayed with him. So why did he have so many intimate pictures with two different pregnant women in his home? The women looked happy, comfortable like they lived there. It didn't sit well with my spirit at all. A deep cold fear settled in my stomach. But I was too scared to ask him. What if he had a good explanation? What if he got angry that I was snooping? So I put the phone back exactly as I found it and tried to forget what I saw. But I couldn't. The images were burned into my mind. The pictures haunted me. For days, I couldn't eat or sleep properly. Every time Ben touched my stomach, I flinched inside. Who were those women? The question was eating me alive. I knew I couldn't ask him. He would just lie or get angry. The only person who might have the answers was the landlady. She had lived there for decades, and Ben had been in that apartment for 10 years. She had seen everything. And a strange person, it is not his, right? Proved she knew something. I gathered all my courage. One afternoon, when I knew Ben would be at work for a few more hours, I waddled over to her door. I was 9 months pregnant, so heavy and slow, with only a few days left before my due date. But I had to know. I couldn't bring my baby into that house with this mystery hanging over us. I knocked on her door. She opened it, looking surprised to see me standing there. She glanced behind me, probably checking if Ben was with me. "Good afternoon, ma," I said, my voice shaky. Can I talk to you for a minute?" She hesitated, then nodded and stepped aside to let me in. I didn't know how to start. I just blurted it out. "Ma, the other day you asked me about my baby. Why?" And I saw some pictures on Ben's phone, pictures with other pregnant women in his house. Do you know who they are? The landlady let out a long, heavy sigh. She looked at me with so much pity. She shook her head slowly and said, Then she looked me straight in the eye and said the words that shattered my world. "My dear," she said, her voice low and serious, "you are the fifth one. You are the fifth pregnant woman that man has brought to that apartment." I felt the floor disappear from under me. The fifth. I couldn't believe my ears. I actually thought my pregnancy hormones were making me hear things. "Faith," I whispered, my voice barely there. "What do you mean, the faith?" The landlady nodded. "Yes, my dear, the faith. Over the past 5 or 6 years, he finds them when they are like you. 4 or 5 months gone, alone, no money, no man. He brings them home, just like he did with you." She leaned forward, lowering her voice even though we were alone. He looks after them exactly like he does for you. He becomes the perfect man. He buys the baby things, pays for the hospital, everything. He makes them feel safe. I was shaking, my hands clutching my belly. And then I asked, already dreading the answer. And then she said, her lips pressed into a thin line. As soon as they have the baby, sometimes that same week, sometimes that same month, he finds a reason to fight. He changes, he becomes cold, and he kicks them out just like that. All their things, the baby's things, everything thrown outside. I felt like I was going to be sick. I have always found it very, very weird, she continued. Maybe he has a sickness in the mind, but he's a quiet tenant. He never makes noise. He always pays his rent on time. So I decided to mind my business. Before you came, the last one, she cried so much when he put her things out. It was terrible. She was the one who told me he treated her so well. How he found her when she was 4 months pregnant. And then changed immediately she had a baby. As I stood up to leave, my body numb with shock, she grabbed my arm gently. Be careful, she whispered urgently. Just be careful. I stumbled out of her apartment, the world spinning around me. The fifth pregnant woman, the words echoed in my head. Why? Why pregnant woman? What was wrong with him? My mind was racing, 1,000 terrifying thoughts crashing together. I didn't even make it back to Ben's apartment. I leaned against a wall in the compound, pulled out my phone, and called my mom, sobbing so hard I could barely breathe. Ma, I cried when she answered. Ma, you were right. I told her everything, the pictures, the landlady, everything. I told her I was the fifth one. She didn't even sound surprised. She just went very quiet, and then a voice came through the phone, sharp and clear. Didn't I tell you? Leave that place now. Come home. Hurry up and leave before he comes back. Do not call him. Do not ask him anything. Just leave. Her agency snapped me out of my panic. She was right. I had to go. Now. My heart was broken, shattered into a million pieces. The man I thought was my savior was a monster with a secret. Crying, my huge belly making it difficult to move quickly. I hurried back into the apartment and started packing. I took my important documents, my clothes, and at first, I took only the few baby things I had bought myself before I met him. I was about to leave all the things he had bought, but then I changed my mind. I begged a young man who lived in the apartment next door for help. I packed everything. I called a taxi and took everything with me. All hell broke loose when he found out I was gone. His reaction was intense. My phone started blowing up, call after call. He was heartbroken. His voice on the phone was choked with tears. Please, my love, come back, he begged. Where are you? Why did you leave? He had an answer for everything when I confronted him. Those women you saw in the pictures, they are my cousins. They stayed with me for a little while when they were having problems with their husbands. That is all. You are the only pregnant woman I have ever loved. The only one. He said the landlady was a liar, a gossiper. He sounded so sincere, so hurt. He poured on the love, reminding me of all the good times. Remember everything I did for you. I was building a family with you. Please come back before you have the baby. I want to be there. I want us to do this together. We can be a family. And God, I almost believed him. My heart, so desperate for that fairy tale to be real, wanted to believe him. I was weak, confused, and hormonal. I almost went back. But something deep inside me, my spirit, screamed no. My spirit told me not to go. So I didn't. I stayed with my mom. He called me several times a day for the next 3 days. His messages swinging between desperate begging and confused anger. I stopped answering. Then 3 days after I left, I gave birth to my beautiful, healthy baby boy. And guess what? The moment Ben found out through a mutual friend I had foolishly told, the call stopped. Just like that. Silence. I waited a day, then tried to call him from my number. It didn't go through. He had blocked me. I borrowed my mom's phone and dialed his number. He answered. Hello, he said, his voice normal. "It is me," I said softly. There was a pause, and then his voice changed. It became cold, hard, and full of contempt. A voice I had never heard before. "You," he said, "you disobeyed me. You left. I cannot be with a woman who does not trust me and who disobeys me like that. Do not ever contact me again." And then he hung up. The landlady was right. It was like a switch had been flipped. The loving, caring man was gone, replaced by this cold stranger. The performance was over because the baby was born. I was no longer useful. Up until today, I don't know why he does it. Why he specifically targets pregnant women, loves them intensely, and then discards them the moment they give birth. It is a sickness I would never understand. I just want to share this story to warn all the pregnant single women out there. Be vigilant. Not every knight in shining armor is there to rescue you. There are a lot of sick people out there who want to use you. Trust your instincts always. Please be careful out there. Things are happening. Oh. What do you want with a pregnant woman? Let me hear your thoughts down below. I'm thinking it is a fetish. It is a fetish thing. The fact that she said is only interested in sleeping with her, but I'm not sure. This is so weird. Let me hear your thoughts down below. Things are happening. Oh. Please be safe out there. Take care of yourselves. And now I'll be, Dada. This is a judgment-free zone. We listen, we don't judge. So please be kind to her in the comment section. And if you've not subscribed yet, come and join the family. Please subscribe and like this video. And don't forget to turn on the notifications so that when I post, you'll be notified immediately. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Okay, I'm done. Bye.